Hey guys, welcome to the channel. It's your boy World of Wrestling here today to discuss about AEW Dynamite November 20th, 2024 review. My thoughts on this show overall. I thought it was okay. But it kind of felt flat for a big hype up for the Full Gear pay-per-view. I will be here to cover the pay-per-view the next day. Probably by video, more than likely, not live. Or I might just do the video the day of when the event ends and so forth. I think I'm definitely buying this pay-per-view. Granted, I'm not giving them kudos for any great work that they have done as of late, but I would like to be able to view this live and so forth and give them a little bit of support despite their lackluster of creativity. Um, since I am doing okay, and this is one of financially, and since this is one of their major pay per view programs that were the legit one of the legit four pay per views on their pay per view card year round when they first started, I don't see any harm in buying this pay per view to begin with. But these other pay per views, honestly, that have been thrown in as month to month, really has become more of a financial burden to keep up with than anything else. So anything to do with the first four pay per views that used to take place when AEW started, those are the ones that I'll actually invest my money into. At least it gives me a span of time to be able to save the money to be able to buy these pay per views. But to buy every one of them every month, I can't financially afford that. I'll go broke. Um, well, not really go broke, but it's unnecessary amount of money to spend for a content that is not exactly full of excitement like it used to. If the content was as good as it was when it first started, I would have to really go ahead and possibly consider buying every pay-per-view because it would be well worth doing it since the content is so good. Why wouldn't I want to be supportive of the promotion and give them my money to help them out financially as for providing such great content? Wouldn't want to go ahead and watch this for free on some pirate website type shit. Um, but at the end of the day, I just feel like this show is not where it used to be. It wasn't terrible by any means, but my goodness, this show just felt so flat. Um, I mean, Orange Cassidy looked pretty good. I mean, he seemed a little dumb not wanting the conglomeration to help him out in case things get out of hand mathematically and he's at a disadvantage. But to go ahead and expect him to, like, you know, fight everybody on his own is kind of idiotic and stupid, in my personal opinion. So I wasn't a huge fan of the idea creatively of them doing this. Uh, Tony Khan just seems like he's got nothing going on. The show actually kickstarted. First match was a 8-man tag team match, and the Don Callis family actually beat Will Hobbs, Will Osprey, Marcus. I think his name's Marcus Davis, um, and trying to think, and Ricochet in this 8-man tag team match. And Takeshita actually is the one who picks up the victory. I actually like that move. I think that was the smart move on AEW's part to do that. Um, Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, they actually physically got with one another in this matchup. Their slight preview of what to expect for this match at the pay-per-view. I think this is going to be a good matchup between these two, but to have them wrestle on a Dynamite, I think was kind of silly on their part to even give us this for free in a sense. So we kind of have a general idea what's going to happen going into this pay-per-view between these two. It should be good action, but I didn't see the point of doing this matchup at all, really, outside of Takeshita getting the W in this match and so forth. I think that's the only positive thing we can take out of this match. Overall, though, I mean, the match outside of Takeshita winning is not even really necessary to do. But yeah, it was a good match, the 8-man tag team match. I thought that was fun. Chris Statlander got a W tonight against Kushida, obviously getting a match against Mercedes Moné is kind of the smart way to go anyway. So yeah. The Hurt Syndicate actually had MVP in action tonight against two enhancement talents. One of which I'm aware of, one of which I was aware of is Cheeseburger, who wrestled in Ring of Honor for a very long time when they're the original Ring of Honor before Tony Khan purchased them. And he actually suffered an L along with this other enhancement talent. Matt 87 Eagle says, "What World of Wrestling? What a truly boring show." I guess I could say that it was kind of boring. It really, like I said, it was flat, but it wasn't terrible. It just doesn't have the same excitement and thrill and feeling to it anymore. It really doesn't. It just feels bleh, just flat. Matthew Consuelo, what's up, my man? I haven't heard from you in a while. He says, "Oh boy, I didn't watch the show." Matthew, you didn't miss much of anything. Really, to be quite frank with you, unless you're watching the pay-per-views, AEW on a week-to-week basis isn't even worth your time. AEW is successful during their pay-per-view events because they're about wrestling, which is great and all, but the week-to-week televised shows are actually about storytelling, hyping up the matches to give feeling towards wanting to purchase the pay-per-view, which they fail miserably at. WWE, on the other hand, have been able, despite the situation with how kind of like they're kind of just going through the through the ropes and just going through the whole motion of things, they're still trying to actually tell stories that mean something and give you some kind of interest to even want to watch the fucking shows. I honestly found Raw to be a better show than this. And I'm not saying that Dynamite was a terrible show, but again, it just doesn't have the same feeling anymore that it used to have. It's just it's just there. That's it. That's all there is to it. Matthew Consuelo continues to say, "I heard the show that the show was ass." I mean, if you're really looking for high-end standards of what AEW used to be, yes, I would agree that this show was ass. Compared to what AEW has been able to give us in the past, yes. It really, there was nothing to this show compared to what AEW has done on go home shows. The just AEW seems like they're just there. They're trying to, you know, appease the fans that are actually there, and that's it. Matthew Consuelo says, "Feels like 2018 to 2019 Raw all over again." I don't know about that. I mean, literally, I was watching that, and that time frame, I wasn't watching Raw at all. You could go back into my video catalog on my channel, and you will notice that through the history through 2018 to 2019, I wasn't reviewing Raw or SmackDown at all. The only thing I covered was NXT until AEW came into the picture. Then I was covering both. But overall, I wasn't covering Raw or SmackDown at all. The shows on both of them were trash. Vince McMahon made that show abysmal to watch compared to what AEW is right now. I would take AEW now compared to WWE with Vince McMahon running creative. Straight up. But will I say that they have downgraded quite a bit? Oh, hell yeah. That's a definite. There's no fucking doubt about it. AEW is not the same. Straight up. I like Orange Cassidy. I'm happy for him getting this world title opportunity. But anyone that thinks that Orange Cassidy's going to beat John Moxley has got to be on fucking drugs. There's no way in hell if Tony Khan actually goes through or has the balls to say that, oh, I'm just gonna make John Moxley drop the title of Orange Cassidy. I think Tony Khan is sadly fucked up in the head and downright ridiculous. Matthew Consuelo says that ratings are down, interest is down, nobody cares about it. Oh yeah, that's a definite fact, without a shadow of a doubt. No matter how much I try to find some positive things about these shows, there's nothing that is going to you can debate about the interest, the ratings, and the fan attendance being consistently going down. So obviously there is a huge, huge problem in AEW. No fucking doubt about it. There's a good reason why. There's a good reason why, Matt. The reason being is the fact that they are not trying anymore. They're not trying to give us heartfelt shows anymore. They are strictly just plain and simple are fucking just there. They're collecting money from people, whoever's willing to give them their money. That's all. Matthew Consuelo says you heard the chant go back to Roman to Moxley. A lot of old school wrestling fans would say wrestling is dead. You think wrestling is cold? RN? I don't know. Wrestling, I would say WWE is making a turnaround creatively. I think that they are gaining a lot of viewership. I just think right now they've kind of hit a roadblock in excitement. I think WWE has just kind of said themselves, it is November. People are interested in the holidays. And it's just not the most important thing on everybody's priority list is that the pro wrestling show is like, top notch creative. Let's just give them some things to keep them around at least so that they're not so discouraged how terrible the shows are. And I think that's what they're doing here at this point with WWE's content. AEW's content is just, let's give them wrestling. That's all. No major stories, no important shit. And that's all. Matthew Consuelo says Raw on Netflix is about to be wild. I'm interested in it. I'm a little concerned about it. And I'll tell you why. Because I streamed the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, and I thought it was just my internet service, but it actually wasn't. It was the server for watching that event because there was so many people watching that Netflix couldn't play this live the way it was supposed to be played and kept buffering constantly. If you watch JD from New York 206 and Solomonster, uh, they both stated that there was a huge problem with that, and that Netflix is a little bit concerned about the Raw episode on January 6th turning out to be a flop for them because of the fact of the net streaming issues they had with the Jake Paul fight. Um, Matthew Consuelo says, "What are your thoughts about the old school fans would say wrestling is dead?" I mean, I guess I would agree with them in some case. It isn't like how it used to be, I can tell you that. And I think that's what they want to see. They want to see the old school days where people weren't like pussies. They were, you know, more serious. They weren't so like feeling like the music has changed on when we're talking specifically WWE. Music has definitely changed a whole lot with WWE's programming. They have a lot of hip hop, music. Back in the day, WWE was all about the rock music, hard rock. Even the mainstream rock bands they don't even use the mainstream rock bands anymore. So honestly, it's like I when I think of wrestling, I think of rock music or metal. When you think of football, you can think of a mixture of hip hop and rock music in football. And in basketball, it's definitely rap. Rap music flows with how basketball is. It's a flow and whatnot. And I just don't see hip hop as a genre that fits pro wrestling very well. Like Matthew Consuelo just said in the comment, they don't mix, and I agree with that full heartedly. You watch Raw from back in the day, man. You got fucking Anthrax doing the intro for Raw is War. I mean, you had great music. Marilyn Manson doing Beautiful People for SmackDown back when they had the 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 metal fist coming out of the fucking wall. I mean, you shattering glass on SmackDown too. That went really good with the Beautiful People song. I mean, you had all kinds of great bands playing for wrestling for theme songs and shit. Half the theme songs that were played for the pay-per-views are edited out of the fucking pay-per-views that you watch from the old school wrestling shows. From back in like I would say between 1998 all the way up to 2000 and I'd say about 2008 up to 2008. And then by 2008, all the content for music that was played during that time when they went into the HD era, they started to actually go ahead and provide the content that they were originally playing on those pay-per-views and so forth. So, yeah. Matthew Consuelo says they need to go crazy on Netflix like they did in the Attitude Era. I think that would be great. I mean, they have no constrictions at this point. They're, focusing mostly on the being off the cuff and just edgier and whatnot. I think that is necessary. Yeah, no PG guidelines. I totally agree with you, Consuelo, on that. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't understand why WWE has become so like downgraded in so many levels, but thankfully Triple H has improved the creative side of things that make it well worth watching the WWE content on a week to week basis. Now, granted, it's not every week that he hits a grand slam, but he is at least providing some good content. He's pushing wrestlers that we would never see pushed under the leadership of Vince McMahon. And I think that's a fantastic thing. But the issue is that we're not seeing consistency from Triple H. And I think it's just that time of the year where pro wrestling is not the top priority. It's other things that are taking place, such as the holidays and so forth. So he's just kind of just giving us something to bite into and make it a little bit presentable for us to be okay with it so that we don't totally turn away from the product altogether. The AEW on a year to year, year round basis have just been totally terrible. They're not doing a fucking thing to help their product in any way, shape, or form. So that's pretty much my feelings on that. But let me continue on with this show with the review. I truly think that Adam Cole, I didn't watch last week's show or any episode of pro wrestling. My mind was into sports betting. I've been trying to turn that into a possible side business for myself. And it's fucking hard as shit, by the way, guys. I just lost today. With a bet that I thought I was going to close, and I really would have had the player that I picked was actually able to play a full 4 quarters, which he did not. He got taken out, and his team smashed, but he didn't get to play the full game, and I lost. I was just doing 15 points for him to score, and he had 9. He only needed 3 more buckets, and unfortunately, that did not occur. Cleveland Cavaliers smashed the Pelicans like 120 something to 95 or some shit. So it was a total ass beating. Anyway, so Adam Cole makes his way to the ring to a big pop from the crowd as we are reminded that he will not be facing MJF at Full Gear. He lost last week to a Don Callis opponent, but Roderick Strong is as the earned his 3 victories inside the ring. Adam Cole says it's story time as he addresses his friend Roderick Strong, earning the wins needed to face MJF. He says the two have the same goal of beating MJF, and that's what he promises Strong will do at Full Gear. My thoughts on Roderick Strong actually facing MJF. I think it's kind of I don't know how to put it. Maybe some people would agree with me. Some people would say it's stupid as fuck that Roderick Strong's getting the match and just dragging this program out for as long as they are. I think that this whole story is going to end at World's End, and I think that's the appropriate time to do so since last year at World's End, MJF got screwed by Adam Cole when he betrayed him with being the man behind the desk. So I would say that they are, probably doing the right thing here in this sense. And I think that he is going to get the W over MJF, unfortunately, because apparently we had to swap the characters and make MJF a fucking heel. Yeah, very fucking odd indeed, may I add. But yeah, Adam Cole is going to get the W. If it was the other way around, MJF would be getting the W. But unfortunately, that's not the case. He got his W and revenge over Adam Cole with a low blow. I don't fucking know. This makes no sense. Anyway, Kyle O'Reilly's music hits as he makes his way out to the ring, a mic in hand as he addresses the history he and Cole share. This history makes him the only man who can tell Adam Cole the truth that this crusade against MJF needs to end. He talks about Strong barely managing to make it out alive last week and wants to end MJF at Full Gear, but at what cost? Cole asks if Kyle doesn't want to see MJF stop, but O'Reilly says that he knows what happens when people play with fire. They get burned. And he cares about his friends, and he doesn't want to see anything bad happen to them. He ends by saying that MJF is more evil than Cole, which he considers a good thing before dropping the mic and leaving the ring. Cole is confused by the statement as we cut away. Honestly, I think Kyle O'Reilly is going to turn on Cole. So maybe I'm wrong. This is going to be MJF's revenge at World's End. Kyle O'Reilly is going to be the guy in MJF's back pocket. And he's kind of using him at this point to kind of convince him, hey, back the fuck off and leave MJF alone, or otherwise things are going to get worse for you. And Roderick Strong's going to lose to MJF. And then we're going to have this match at World's End. And Kyle O'Reilly is going to turn on Adam Cole and be with MJF. I think that is what's happening. I think he's paying Kyle O'Reilly behind closed doors to do whatever he needs to do to get Adam Cole away from him so that those two are no longer at, facing each other, because MJF really doesn't want to deal with Adam Cole. I think his main focus under normal circumstances is trying to win back a title he got screwed out of in the first place. So I think that's kind of the direction they're trying to go, which eventually will lead to Adam Cole getting his revenge and actually getting a win over MJF at some point. I think probably either Double or Nothing or Revolution. So that's probably the direction they're going to go. And I think Adam Cole is going to face Kyle O'Reilly at Revolution. God knows we probably won't enjoy that match. If you watched their match at a takeover show, in the main event, they were absolute trash. The match was not as good as what everyone thought it would be. And it turned out to be an absolute fail by WWE NXT Creative for booking that match. And I think that this match is going to end up being the same thing. I watched a match that they had against each other in Ring of Honor back in the old days, like in 2016. They actually had a match. I think it was at Best in the World. Best in the World, yeah. And they competed, I believe, or it was a different pay-per-view at that time. I'm trying to remember which event it was. Damn, I'd have to go back and take a look at some. They have tons of Ring of Honor DVDs on eBay and Amazon that you could look up for in like the 2016 catalog that they got listed under that year for DVDs, and you could probably find it somewhere. And I do believe it's 2016 is when they fought each other. And they were the main event. And I watched that match, and they were failing that. On paper, they seem like they would be great to compete, but meshing them together, it just doesn't seem like they fit the right style together for some oddball reason. I don't know why. But yeah, I think that Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly will face each other at Revolution. Then we go to Double or Nothing and have Adam Cole face MJF in a rematch for him to win at Double or Nothing. That's what I think might happen. Just my thoughts. Anyway, moving on. So next we had Chris Statlander versus Hikaru Shida. Nothing important there. Hikaru Shida lost to Chris Statlander. Chris offers a hand to Shida following the match, but it's interrupted by the arrival of Mercedes Moné as TBS Women's Champion, and Camille step out onto the stage. Moné tells Reading to say hello to their CEO before running down the Sixers and hyping up her Celtics. She talks about Chris before giving the fans another fun fact, pointing out she's held the TBS championship longer than Statlander before promising she will never lose the title, as the Reading crowd let her know what they think of her. This riles up the champ, who tells Camille to go after Statlander and finish the job, but Chris and Shida manage to send the brick house out the ring. Monet tries to blindside her challenger, but is dropped with a Wednesday Night Fever by Statlander, who stands tall over the TBS Women's Champion with the title in hand. So obviously we know who's winning that match. That's Mercedes Moné, most definitely. Backstage, MVP and Shelton Benjamin try to sneak attack Swerve Strickland, only to find out that he hands his coat to someone else who takes a cane to the midsection instead. Graphic that Bobby Lashley will be in action next. He faces two jobbers, beats the shit out of them, and ends the match in very quick fashion. The celebration is cut short, though, as Swerve Strickland music hits, forcing the Hurt Syndicate to track him down, only for Swerve to come out from under the ring, getting the jump on Lashley with a chain. MVP and Benjamin rush into the ring, but Strickland evades them both before making his exit through the crowd. We cut backstage with Mariah May and Mina Shiraraka. Believe I'm mispronouncing the last name, but oh well. Are ready to team up together on Rampage. Oh boy, you're putting your women's world champion on Rampage, a show that nobody fucking ever watches on a week-to-week basis consistently. AEW Dynamite is becoming just like Rampage, unfortunately. Getting her champion. So ahead of May finally getting her championship celebration at Full Gear, she talks about being the top of the division, and Mina promises a celebration she'll never forget as we cut away. And they're dancing and frolicking like a couple of imbeciles. Back at ringside, Darby Allin makes his way to the ring for our next match, being that this is Darby Allin and Claudio Castagnoli. Matt 87 Eagle says Rampage is dead and it'll be buried next year. Thank Christ. There's only one thing to say. Thank God for that. It is a worthless show and it shouldn't be on TV. I don't see any rhyme or reason for its existence. Honestly, I think they should get rid of Collision altogether, unless they're going to make Collision a show to split up the roster so that everybody gets a fair chance to get airtime on television. And that way, both shows have important storylines taking place, forcing fans to actually want to watch Collision and watch Dynamite all at the same time on a week-to-week basis. If you're not doing that, then get rid of fucking Collision altogether, because it's a complete and utter waste of everybody's time too. Not to mention, get Collision off of Saturdays. Saturdays is UFC, college football, and pay-per-view events for pro wrestling. It is not for a weekly televised show. There's no rhyme or reason for Collision to be on fucking Saturday nights. I'm sorry. I don't care if AEW Collision got to its peak of creativity and people were ramping up all about it. I don't give a shit. If there's a UFC pay-per-view taking place, I'm watching UFC pay-per-view over a fucking AEW Collision show. I can promise you that. And there's a reason why. One, I bet on UFC. Unlike I can't bet on fucking pro wrestling because it's fixed. I just found out this month that WWE and AEW Pro Wrestling will not be used for betting at all because WWE do not believe it's a smart move for either side, especially for Triple H to keep storylines under wraps. So if you're at all interested in sports betting, WWE and AEW will not be one of those things unless you go on the offshore betting sites where you can place bets. But those are kind of risque. I mean, you could take a chance, deposit the money, make your wins, and then go through hell trying to get the money back and deposit into your checking account. Simply put, because they put you through hell trying to verify your account, and then poof, you're going through hell trying to do that before you ever get your money. So recommendation, if you want to try offshore accounts before investing any money into the account, verify your account with the offshore betting website that you're using so that you make sure that you're cleared and ready to go, that you can get your payouts once you're completed. So if you want to use these offshore betting sites for pro wrestling, or if you're in a state where betting is not legal, you have no actual local betting area to bet within, like DraftKings or FanDuel or anything like that, then you can do offshore betting. It is still legal technically, even though you're not in a state where you're allowed to bet. But you're basically betting offshore. It's like, in a sense, visiting a place out of the country and going there to make bets. You're not going to be held in, breaking any law by doing that. You just need to provide any proof if you're winning outrageous amount of money. You want to be able to provide and keep record of those things so that you can actually cover yourself by the legal system from not getting you in trouble with not paying your taxes or anything. So you at least can provide that proof that you won those bets and so forth. And here they are. This is what you won. And there you go. IRS. So Uncle Sam, he's always got to get his hand in your fucking earnings. I mean, you can take the risk of not reporting it, but I wouldn't recommend that. Anyway, Claudio Castagnoli beat Darby Allin. Decent match. Nothing important there, but I don't really care. Backstage, Renee talks to Private Party about the upcoming 4-way tag match at Full Gear before we get our first appearance of the night from the Costco guys. Big Justice talks to Zay about the face he made before AJ talks about his big announcement up next. Oh, dear God. I don't even know who the fuck this dude is. This Boom. I don't know what the fuck that is, but God almighty, get it off my television. Before we get to that, however, we cut to MJF pulling up elsewhere in I think it's a Porsche. Before addressing Roderick Strong ahead of their match at Full Gear, he talks about what Roderick Strong is willing to do for his friend Adam Cole, running Cole down as we get a look back at Strong's path to facing MJF this Saturday. Max promises to send Roderick back where he belongs and in physical anguish. With that statement, we go to a commercial break. Back from the commercial break, we hear from Big Justice and Big Boom. AJ ahead of his match against QT Marshall, which I don't understand why this fucking match is an important thing. We're hyping up a match that's going to be on 0 Hour, a pre-show that nobody's going to watch. And we're hyping this up in this segment. Why? I don't have a fucking clue. This is absolutely insanity. Personally, this is something I can harp on, get mad about, rant about, but is it really worth doing all that? Raising my blood pressure, raising my cholesterol level, and getting myself all fucking pissed off and making my face turn red? No, there is no reason. It is an absolute waste of fucking time. But yeah, in all honesty, this is just trash. So with that segment being done, we cut to the ringside where Tony Schiavone welcomes Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong and the Undisputed Kingdom come out to address MJF's comments, leading up to their match at Full Gear, with Strong calling out MJF's privilege before saying he's earned everything he has. Strong wants Max to look in the mirror and thinking about everything he's done and realize that at Full Gear, he will pay for all those sins. Sure, he did terrible things to Adam Cole and you guys. Sure, he did. He did terrible. This was the most asinine fucking. This whole Adam Cole MJF story is totally ass backwards. And I mentioned this weeks ago when they reversed the storyline completely with no rhyme or reason of doing so. Adam Cole betrayed MJF. Not MJF betraying Adam Cole. MJF, for the first time in his entire career, creatively, never betrayed Adam Cole, not once. Now, some might say, well, you can look at on the other side where MJF was saying, pretty much trying to keep Adam Cole at close lengths with him to avoid from having to defend the title against him at all costs. But if you look back at All In from last year in 2023, he defended the title in the main event and granted Adam Cole, while they were friends, the opportunity for the title. Not to mention they won the Ring of Honor tag team titles together at that time, the same night, and then challenged each other over the AEW championship. So that doesn't even count either, because if that's what his whole operandi was about, he would have gone ahead and never given him the match in the first place. He didn't have to. Adam Cole at the end of that match was looking to cheat to win because he couldn't put MJF away. That was another storyline that they threw in this match. That was great and gave us the clue as to Adam Cole is going to betray MJF, not the other way around. This whole thing is ass backwards. I have more sympathy for MJF in this storyline than I do for either one of these guys, because there's no sympathy behind it. There's no reason to care for them. They're the ones that betrayed MJF, not the other way around. And Tony Khan doesn't even acknowledge that. He acts like this is a totally new storyline and it's totally washed under the bridge. No, it's not. The fans do remember the storyline. This was one of their top storylines in 2023, and they trashed it because it failed miserably. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to go right back to it to hope and pray that the fans will still accept it despite of the misrepresentation of the storyline being ass backwards. I don't get what Tony Khan is trying to accomplish here outside of make himself look like a complete fucking idiot. He makes Adam Cole look ridiculous. He's making Roderick Strong look ridiculous. Roderick Strong was trying to make Adam Cole stay away from MJF in the first place to keep their friendship from taking place and getting stronger. And not to mention taking advantage of Adam Cole while Adam Cole was fucking injured and he's sitting there with a messed up neck pretending he was hurt when he really wasn't. This is asinine. A storyline that worked in 2023, flipping it around does not make it work at all. It is a complete and utter joke. It makes you look like a retard. I'm sorry. It just does. It makes you look stupid. I just don't like the story. There's nothing here to give me any reason to have sympathy for you. It's a dumb move. Anyway. So we go to a video package highlighting the feud between Jack Perry and Daniel Garcia. This was another one, though. What the fuck was this? I mean, they're trying to be edgy here and all. This is fucking retarded. So apparently, Daniel Garcia and what was his name? Daddy Magic together kidnapped Jack Perry, tied him up to a chair. Same thing that the Miz happened to him. Same thing that happened to the Miz with Bo Dallas in Raw. And they take him to a dark place that no one would ever see them. And he has him tied up to a chair. Jack Perry, or not Jack Perry, Daniel Garcia is trying to not go back to that old person he used to be, apparently. I don't know what that old person was. I mean, the person we know was going ahead and gyrating, basically. So I don't fucking know what the hell you're talking about, pal, but okay. But anyway, he pretty much tells him, he spits in his face, Jack Perry does. This angers Daniel Garcia, takes out some lead pipe or some shit or a wrench. And instead of hitting Jack Perry with it on his kneecap to injure him, making him put him at a disadvantage going into Full Gear for this TNT title, he takes it and smashes it in his fucking Jack Perry's van that says scapegoat. What? Jack Perry's sitting there going, really? That's it? He starts laughing his ass off. Mark Menard and fucking Daniel Garcia leave him sitting there tied up to a chair, and Jack Perry's just sitting there laughing his ass off. Does Daniel Garcia to you guys look like a guy that's going into Full Gear, going to win the TNT championship? Do you guys actually support this decision with what we saw just tonight? I can't see Jack Perry losing the title like that. I could understand if Daniel Garcia went AWire nuts on him and took the fucking wrench and smashed it over his kneecap, injuring his knee or giving him some sort of disadvantage going into Full Gear. He didn't do any of that. He ruined his car. Oh, wow. Like a fucking cheap ass fucking van is going to break Jack Perry's checking account. Get the fuck out of here. I'm sure the guy can buy a fucking multiple muscle cars and still have plenty of money left over and own the bitches on top of it and doesn't have to finance it with what he gets for an income from AEW. Get the fuck out of here. You got to be kidding me. This is sick. Absolutely fucking sick. And when I talk about a sports car, I'm not talking about like a Ferrari or something like that, or you know, or a fucking bullet Mustang. You know, those green Mustangs that are equipped with all this fucking outrageous high speed tech that's on the car. I'm talking about like a Mustang GT. I'm talking about a Camaro, you know, even a Corvette for the lower end grade Corvettes is what I'm talking about. I'm not, or a Dodge Charger or a Dodge Challenger that are in the normal, you know, versions of those cars. I'm not talking about full-fledged all the way up to the maximum premium cars to be able to pay out of pocket. I mean, he wouldn't be able to afford some shit like that. Maybe he does. I don't know. But yeah, I think those normal muscle cars, I think he could easily afford out of pocket and own a couple of them without blinking an eye and not going broke either doing it. So just my thought. Anyway, we cut backstage with Renee Paquette, and she's sitting with Chris Jericho and Ishii for the contract signing ahead for their Ring of Honor World Championship match. I don't know if this is taking place at Full Gear or not, nor do I really give a shit. And Jericho talks about needing to get the contract looked over by his legal eagles before leaving the room, only for Ishii to stalk him down the hallway as Jericho tries to make his escape. Not to mention he's walking extremely slow as he's doing it, and Ishii's doing the same. I didn't quite understand this segment whatsoever. I would have to go back to Matthew Consuelo's comments about being like Raw 2018, 2019. A couple of these segments, yeah, they do kind of remind you of a 2018, 2019 Raw episode. This was absolutely silly and absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, welcome back, Matthew. Anyway, so Jericho tries throwing hurdles in the way of the Stone Pit Bull, including various staff, as the pair make their way up the stairs and into the crowd. Ishii continues to follow the Learning Tree's main man to ringside with the both men entering the ring as Jericho calls for a microphone. Jericho says he would sign for a Jericho would sign this contract, but he doesn't have a pen. Oh my gosh. Talk about not being prepared. Um Jericho says he would sign, but he doesn't have a pen, only for Big Tom to reveal a pen of his own, handing it over to Chris Jericho, forcing him to actually sign it. Jericho very, very reluctantly signs the contract just in time for students to blindside the challenger. Big Bill and Brian Keith prop up Ishii for Jericho to attack, but the conglomeration come out to even the numbers. Big Bill tries to fend them off, but is forced to the outside while Mark Briscoe drops Keith with a J Driller before Ishii hits Jericho with a sheer drop brainbuster. He signs the contract standing tall over the world champion as he drops the contract beside him. Matthew Consuelo says, I think Jericho needs to go. Absolutely. He needs to go away for a while. Come back in about a year. See how the fans react to you. If they react in a positive way, okay, stay. If not, disappear. Do something behind closed doors. Work in creative. Work with the young talent. Help them out. But yeah, get off television. You've become stale. Extremely stale. That's what Jericho has become. He has become extremely stale and boring on this television show. And people don't seem interested in him as they once were. It's sad to say. And I think it has a lot to do with some backstage rumors that were floating around earlier this year about what he has been doing as some sort of sexual conduct that he did with another female colleague of some sort that wasn't confirmed or proven that he actually did it, but it has left him with a sour taste in the fans' mouth. And I think that has a lot to do with the fans' interaction with him and their interest in him being on television. But there is not any fan reaction towards Chris Jericho being on television at all. He is not really wanted at all. So Matthew Consuelo says he's doing the Vince McMahon thing. Oh, hell nah. I didn't say that he is, but there was a rumor that he was kind of making a move on a female colleague. She made accusations about it that he wasn't being very professional and left a sour taste in her mouth, and she didn't appreciate it. And it got him into some hot water, which is why I think he's in this terrible storyline that he's in with this learning tree. And he's trying to make the best of it, but they're making him as cheesy as fucking possible. And with the rumor, it's not helped him out in any way, shape, or form either. So yeah, I think that has a lot to play into what's going on. Plus the terrible story that he's in. He needs to go. He needs to look at Tony Khan and say, look, this is not working. These fans don't want me here. I feel like I'm going nowhere here with this storyline, which clearly he's not. There's nothing he's building upon this. It's the the Chris Jericho Appreciation Society all over again. The only thing, anything that was remotely successful that I hated seeing go was the Inner Circle with Sammy Guevara, and the other guys that were involved in this. Pride and Powerful with Santana and I forgot the other guy's name. It's been so long. I mean, like 3-4 years now. But yeah, I enjoyed the Inner Circle. I thought it was a great faction in AEW. But yeah, outside of that, I have not enjoyed much of what Chris Jericho has to offer, especially with this learning tree shit. This has been absolutely terrible. So, yeah. Anyway, backstage, Jamie Hayter starts to address Julia Hart, interrupting her last week before another Julia Hart vignette reveals that she is ready to come home. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but yeah, she's supposed to come home to what? I have no idea. The house is got no home. Malachi Black may be leaving AEW altogether, and Malachi is the leader of the House of Black, and yet the House of Black is going nowhere anyway. Back at ringside, Orange Cassidy makes his way to the ring for our main event. Orange Cassidy beats Wheeler Yuta. Obviously, I don't think anyone thought that Orange Cassidy was going to lose going into his first ever world title main event match. Well, no, it's not his first main event match he's ever had on a pay-per-view event, because at last year's All Out pay-per-view in 2023, he main evented with Jon Moxley, which again he is doing this year at Full Gear. So yeah, he should have an interesting match. These two did have a great match last year at All Out with the International Championship. I don't see that this is going to be any different. I think Jon Moxley and him are going to have a banger of a match. But at the end of the day, it's a very predictable match that should have been saved for later on in the future, giving us the belief that there's a possibility that Orange Cassidy could win to make this match more exciting. At the end of the day, this is going to be very predictable. And when we get to the actual match itself, we are probably not going to have so much excitement or interest in this match whatsoever. So I think Tony Khan pulled the gun a little too early on this, shot the gun too early, and blew his wad too early. Because I honestly believe, built up correctly, Orange Cassidy would have been a great fit to take down Jon Moxley. Being that Tony Khan is a huge fan of Orange Cassidy and so forth, he could have built a star in Orange Cassidy of being a main eventer by winning matches, being important storylines, along with the Death Riders, like having storylines with Claudio Castagnoli and Darby Allin and him teaming together against the Death Riders and so forth. But all they did was roughshod him right into a world title match like nobody's business, instead of looking for a suitable person to take his place to have this very first title match that Jon Moxley's defending the title in this new reign that he has. And secondly, we haven't even seen the fucking world title since he won it from Bryan Danielson. So it makes you wonder, what the fuck's the point of the title? Does it have any importance on the show? Absolutely not. It's being carried around in a fucking briefcase that one of the members are carrying around. And yeah, that's your fucking show. And Orange Cassidy got his ass kicked. Ask the conglomeration to stay out of the match. Don't do anything, even if the odds are stacked up against him, and just leave it be. Mark Briscoe's like, all right, you want to do that? I'm more than happy to help you out and be a friend here. And you're asking me to do the complete opposite and want to be a moron, go into this on your own? Okay. And then they come in at the end to save him, to stop this horrendous beating that was occurring to Orange Cassidy, for Orange Cassidy to get the help from conglomeration, get on, he was taped up, his arms were taped behind his back, and then he just went ahead, stood tall, had his thumb up in the air, acting like he's all good and he's ready to go for Full Gear. And Jon Moxley looking from the stands, kind of just like, all right, motherfucker, this is way over your head. I'm going to beat your ass. This ain't the same Jon Moxley you faced last year. This is a new and improved Jon Moxley who's got a fucking chip on his shoulder and has got the feeling of the responsibility of making AEW great again, like Donald Trump making fucking the United States great again. But, it is what it is. But personally, AEW Dynamite, it was okay, but it's not at the level it needs to be at for it to be successful. I'm sorry, guys. I am trying to be supportive of AEW. I want AEW to be better and get back to the way they were, but it just seems like that's asking for too much. And I think that's pretty sad and pathetic, honestly. But anyway, we've been going for almost a full hour, 59 minutes and counting. So at this time, guys, you know what to do. Hit the like button if you like the video. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. Leave a comment down below. I'll definitely get back to you on that. Thank you guys very much for watching, and have a great night, guys. Bye.